you call it the abolition of private property? Who says that? Who's seeking, a job that voters put him into? Sorry, this sets me on fire.
Karl Marx.
Lydia, go.
Yeah, Karl Marx. I'm so glad you say that, Gary, because when I hear Mamdani speak, I ask myself, are we not students of history? Are we not looking to patterns that have unfolded in the past? I want to know what test case he's looking at that says that's the path forward. Because when I start hearing him talk about, state housing, it makes me think of a scenario that my dad had to flee from when he was a kid. China, that's not much different than what the Communist Party did when they consolidated power in the 1940s. One of the first things they did was they gathered up all the property, redistributed it because they wanted to redistribute wealth. It doesn't work. Look what it's gotten them today, a population that depends far too much on their own government, a population that's aging, that doesn't have employment opportunities, that can't buy the real estate that's even available to them. They're in a lot of trouble. I will say that I think Mamdani is doing something right here, is that he is speaking to a real estate crisis in this country that I think, frankly, neither side is really speaking to right now, particularly for folks that are in my generation. People in their 30s or early 40s that are hoping to buy their first home. It's really tough going right now with interest rates where they are, which gets back to the idea of President Trump and his call for a cut on interest rates. But not to conflate ideas, Mamdani, he's got the right problem identified, but the wrong solution for a number of reasons. That's just one of them. The quality of public housing here in the city should also scare anybody who's walked into them.
He said unhoused, though.
Yeah.
I would guess he's talking about the homeless problem, when he says unhoused, because that's how they refer to people who are homeless in liberal circles. And the homeless problem, the liberals always want to act like it is a real estate issue. It is a affordability crisis, and it's not. The large percentage of homeless people are severely mentally ill and drug or alcohol addicted. They are dual diagnosis. So that, again, he's burying what is the real, they always do that. They bury what is the real problem and the real source of homelessness. So when he says unhoused, I suspect that's what he's talking about. But you asked the question of how can someone look at history and see the results of these ideas, seizing the means of production, no private property, government-run food supply, taking control of the food supply, which is government-run grocery stores. How can they not know the results and how that worked out? Because every politician is ultimately consumed with their own arrogance and their own sense of genius. He can't smell his own stink. And so he thinks that he can execute on these ideas in a way that, Mao couldn't. Or
I can be successful at this.
Right, Fidel couldn't. That I will make this work when these titans of disaster and terror could not.
Do you really think he understands what he's calling for? I mean, do you think he really gets the complete transformation of American society he's calling for?
I do think the conceit of the left is they never think that the things they're advocating have really been tried before. I mean, communists for 100 years who have held on to that have basically said, well, you're telling me about Stalin, but that's not really what I have in mind. Or you're telling me about China under Mao, but that's not really what I have in mind. I mean, this guy, I'm sure he thinks, well, I'm the smiley communist. I'm the nice communist. I'm not the make you march and die communist. I'm the guy who's going to give you housing communist. What they don't understand, of course, is your ideas have been tried. You're going to smile less when you do them because you're going to realize the only way communism ever works is by force. Nobody voluntarily does what you're asking.
But he's starting with what they always start with. I'm going to give you free stuff. Sign up with me. I'm going to give you something for free. You're not going to have to work. You're not going to have to do it. Everything will be delivered.
Well, actually, you know what he starts with real quickly? He actually starts with, first, I'm going to tear down the system. You notice what he's talking about? He's saying, whatever it takes to guarantee housing. If I have to get rid of private property, that's what I'll do. But like, they like giving away free stuff, but I think they like even more tearing down the system.
There is the left, and then there's this. That is called power-hungry control freaks. By stomping on your head, running everything about your life. Abolition of private property, how is that going to look? How is that going to be accomplished? Government-run supermarkets? Really? Are you kidding me? What's next? Get rid of the billionaires, so that means you get rid of your tax base. What's after that? The millionaires, they're bad too. Just remember, they hate success, they hate wealth, because success and wealth do not need people like this. That's where they come from. It's a way of thinking. There's no way to argue with them. You can sit there and show them 1,000 examples going back to the beginning of time how his policies would crush everything. They don't care. They want to take out a mallet and hit you over the head, and they want to take out a machete and cut you at the knees and take the control out of your lives and put it in their hands. It's as simple as that.
Well, I'm sure Mamdani remembers that the press is always going to be on his side, the New York press.
Amazing.
The New York Times and its star reporter, Walter Duranty, helped cover up Stalin's murder of 5 million people in Ukraine. When Stalin starved 5 million people in Ukraine in the Holodomor, the New York Times and Duranty helped hide a genocide by a totalitarian tyrant and won a Pulitzer Prize for it. So somebody like Mamdani, he knows what they're about.
90 miles south of Key West is your greatest example of one family just crushing every person there through military, through people being missing, if you even argue the point. They're doing it. Look what they did to Venezuela, an oil-rich country that could be doing magnificent things. 2 people, Hugo Chavez, dead good, and now this guy Maduro, they did an election where they got rid of the other guy. He lost by miles, and they've just destroyed the country. Business is dead, and inflation's been skyrocketing. It's insanity there, and it's the greatest example. And guess what? We're going to go speak to him, Hakeem Jeffries. Let's go speak to him. Oh, it's really capitalism with a small c. Isn't that what somebody said?
That's the phrase.
You got to be kidding me.
That's the phrase. My fear, of course, is that he is going to be able to convince New Yorkers at the margin to sign on for him, and that this is not just a New York City phenomena, that we're going to see it in other parts of the country as well. We've seen it in some major cities already. I mean, I just think the Republican Party has to get up and start thinking about what's next and stop using it as something they can put into political ads.